According to this interview with a member of McLoed for people, they think because they live near McLoed Bridge and McLoed, they have more rights over what goes on than other people in the area. She thinks that a 50-50 split in the second consultation is a massive vote in favour of closure of the bridge. Interesting point of view.
Was due to start on Mill Road in Cambridge at the beginning of this week to install a bus gate restricting most vehicles from using the bridge between Romsey and Petersfield. Contractors have been unable to start, though, because of protesters. Dozens of people have turned up at the bridge most nights this week, blocking the works, and the council says number plate recognition cameras recently installed were vandalised. We heard from one of the protesters on yesterday's programme who said stopping cars from going over the bridge was baffling, but there are people who were pleased that the bridge was going to be closed off. So what do they make of all of these protests? Elizabeth Whitebread is a mother with two small children, lives just off Mill Road. Elizabeth, good morning.
Morning, Dotty. Thanks for having me on.
You're really welcome. I wanted to ask, first of all, Elizabeth, what it's like having your home street become such a bone of contention, such a hot potato.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I mean, it's a shame because I do think it has kind of caused quite a lot of polarization. You know, there are people who feel really strongly about it from both sides, but I would say actually for most people who live on and off the road, at least most people I talk to, this is something they're welcoming. I mean, you have to remember that both of the consultations we've had over the last couple of years have shown massive support for this measure for closing the bridge to private vehicles. We've also elected councillors over the last few years who've stood on a, really visible pro-bus gate platform. So actually, there are, of course, some people around, there's always going to be disagreement, who don't want this, but the vast majority of people just really can't wait for it to happen and to feel safer on the streets and, travelling with their children.
It's interesting, isn't it? If you look at the responses to the consultations on this, it looks like the closer people live to Mill Road itself, the more likely they are to favour it being closed. And it raises that question of, who does Mill Road belong to? Does it belong to the people who live in the area?
Right.
Or is it actually a road that loads of people use as they try and go about their business, and therefore maybe everyone should have an equal say on that?
I don't think everyone should have an equal say. I mean, I think that the communities that people live in, it's right that the people that live there get to make, have a louder voice in those decisions. I also think, this is one of those things where before the change gets made, people may object, but really we're talking about for people who use Mill Road at the moment as a route into Cambridge. When the bridge closes to that traffic, they're going to have to make a slight detour. We're talking about an extra 5 or maybe 10 minutes on their journey. That is really not a life-changing situation. Whereas for people who live here, we have gridlocked traffic every evening, lots of mornings. It's the most dangerous road in Cambridgeshire for vehicle collisions.
Oh, really?
And it is a residential road. This is not a ring road. This is not designed to be a road with lots of cars on it. There are people who live on this road, and there are a lot of families live around this road. There are, nurseries and schools just off this road. So I do think that the people who live around here should have a greater say in actually controlling the number of cars and things that come on the road and affect our lives every day.
Well, what do you think of the protesters stopping the works from beginning in earnest?
I think everyone has a right to peaceful protest. I wouldn't want to obstruct their right to do that, but I do think that there should have been action taken more quickly to sort of be able to continue with the work. I don't think it's right that they've been, vandalising, like the ANPR cameras have had their cables cut, like the contractors Equipment has been moved and damaged in some instances. I don't think that's okay. And I do think that, I don't know, whose responsibility it is, but, at the council or at the police, someone should have moved the protesters on to enable the works to be carried out, because this is the democratic wish of the people who live here, and everyone has the right to peaceful protest, but they don't have the right to block democratically made decisions.
So you think maybe the authorities have dropped the ball a bit on this?
Well, maybe. I mean, it does seem weird to me that a handful of people, kind of 10 or 12 at most, have been able to prevent this from going ahead each evening. I mean, I do have faith that the works are going to happen. I know that people are really committed to this at the county council. So I'm sure that, they will fix this. And it looks like, for example, last night the works happened, which is really, really good to hear. So I'm sure that it will happen. It has just been a bit surprising that it has delayed things over a number of nights.
Elizabeth, really appreciate you coming on the show this morning. We heard from one of the protesters at the bridge yesterday morning, and I've just had a message from Mandy in Cambridge, who, it should be said, supports the protesters on this matter. She wants the Mill Road Railway Bridge to remain open to all traffic. Mandy says the contractors came in at 3 a.m. They've now closed the bridge from 6 until 6 in the daytime, so no one can even use it then. We will try and get that corroborated. Mandy, thank you for your message. Cambridgeshire County Council says any criminal damage would not be tolerated. They say everyone has the right to a peaceful protest. However, the safety of our workforce and welfare of other road users is paramount. They say any interference with equipment could be referred to the police. That in reference to the cutting of some of the cables on the ANPR cameras, which have been recently installed on the Mill Road Railway Bridge. It has become such a hot topic. I mean, some of the online discussion around this is so heated, so heightened. It feels a bit like the congestion charge conversation, when people thought that there might be a congestion charge introduced. It's issues around transport and traffic and cars and driving and cycling, but they seem to really, really become very, very heated indeed.